Good morning and welcome back to ScanNCut. I'm Natalie and today I'm going to be showing you a bit of a different way to create a shaker card. So you are going to need some translucent paper, some coloured card and your ScanNCut. So I'll just wait a few moments while people start to join. Morning Deb. So I'll do a few hellos first and then we can crack on. So first in, Deb, could you do me a favour please and just share this to the main group as well please, thank you. Hi Nikki, hi Thea, hi Joyce, hi Carol, hi Corrine. And Tracy's been back, there we go. Just as I say, up pops Tracy. There we go. So, as I say, we have some translucent paper, some coloured card, and shall we crack on? So, I'm going to start by starting my machine. And let's go OK and home and reset. And let's go close cam. So, I'm going to start by creating the actual shaker element itself. So, morning Tracy. And thank you Deb. We're going to go to pattern. We're going to go into our designs. Now what I'm looking for is an envelope. So this could be the little simple one that's included as standard on most machines now. Or it could be one of the fancier ones, so let's see what we can find. Let's go fancy, why don't we? And I'm going to go for this one here. The reason being, it's got these nice fat tabs at the bottom. So if you want to do something that has finer sequins or even glitter, if you seal it really well, then that's going to be the one to go for. So I'm going to go for that. And you can see that it has a decorative edge to the top, and we have this sort of piercing score line around the outside. So I'm going to add that onto my mat, and there we go. Now obviously with that piercing you may find that you just need to just tape down the edges of that if you're using glitter, just so that you don't have any bits peeping out. Nothing worse than a little trail of glitter from your card. And morning Delcy. And morning Emma. So obviously this is a little bit big now for what we want to do on our translucent paper. So first of all, our first job is to shrink that down to a size where this central section is going to be something that we can work with in our card design. So I'm going to go to edit, object edit, resize, and let's take this down. Now bear in mind the size relates to this outside bounding box, so this red bit that you can see. So that leaves you kind of counting the squares on this centre section. It's okay, that's why we do this bit first. We can then adapt our design that's going to go over the top to fit our envelope rather than working the other way around. Okay, so we don't want it too big because otherwise we have to fill it with lots and lots of sprinkles. So I'm going to take this down a bit more. And we can also use rotate so that we're not using up too much of our paper. And we'll go OK, and OK again. OK. Now let's get our mat and actually load up our paper. So when we're working with translucent paper, it can be a bit difficult to see where you're heading with it. So if I go and pop you back overhead, with my paper I'm going to go up to the corner as I normally would and pop that down. Now, if you need to do a background scan, what you can do is use your low tack tape to actually mark off a border so that you can actually see where you're heading and check that things fit. So, let's use a bit of a wider one today. Yeah. I'm going to go for this one, colourful. I'm going to slide it up to the edge so that you get a nice neat edge so you know exactly where that paper is. Hi Mum! And hi Louise! And yes, glitter, sequins, the little sparkle discs that you can get all work well in these. You can also use the waste from if you do a lot of punching, for your planner for instance. Okay, and there's our other edge. So this means that when we then do our background scan, we can see exactly where that paper is. So we know that we're not slipping off the edge. We can off that up to our machine and fingers crossed it will load in. There we go. So now we can swap to our close cam and we can use our background scan just to double check. So I do tend to double check, especially if I'm working with a finer material like paper, translucent paper, vellum. So the paper I'm using is the white translucent paper. It's 100 GSM and that's from Paper Mill Direct. No, it's not a cat. It's somebody with a very loud voice is what I shall say. If it was a cat, I'd be worried. Because I know we have one that, for whatever reason, seems to get lost and thinks that he lives here and not next door. So he keeps trying to come in. So, with that on there, we can see that it's clearly away from this edge. So we can go OK. And I'm going to go to cut. Because this is a finer material, I am going to use my vinyl blade. Just because it's a little bit gentler when you are using things that are a bit more prone to tearing. Yep, there's lots of different terminology when it comes to translucence. So if you're in the print industry, there's one that's known as simulator. Say that carefully. And that is like a really thick vellum. So if you're used to doing like your parchment art, if you can get some of that, that works really, really well. And it's also quite tear resistant. So that's simulator paper, and that comes in different colours as well. So my pressure's on -6, which is normal for my vinyl blade. My speed is currently on 2. Now because this is a fairly basic outline, I'm happy to leave it at that. So I'm going to go start, and away we go. Now let's walk overhead, and let's see if we can change the angle for you. There we go. Okay, so while that's doing that, next week we have our drawing class starting. So you can sign up for that on our Sum Up store and put links up on the group, and you can either pay as you go or pay monthly. And that's going to be well worth signing up to and enjoying. I will be posting up some ideas for materials as well. Morning, Sally. So, for those of you that have joined a bit later, what we're doing is we're using an envelope template that's on our machine already, and we're cutting that from some translucent paper, so then we can actually stick our sparkles into our envelope rather than faffing about with foam tape and all the rest of it. So let's see if that worked. I'm just going to very gently peel this off from the bottom edge. That looks promising. And there we go. So now I'm going to take the mat out because it's going to be easier to unload that fragile item with the mat down on the desk. And let's lift that up like so. And I'm going to grab my metal spatula. Oh, that's such a shame that you missed a holiday, Sally. Yep, Carol, that should work. Like I said, it doesn't work for me, but that's just me. I think I was trying to be too stingy with it. Okay, so you really do want to go careful when you're pulling this off here, in the sense that you're just sliding that spatula under to release it from that adhesive. There we go. And we have our little envelope. So before we go too far, let's actually fold that up. So because we've got our little dots, it should make it nice and easy to fold. If not, you can just pop that into your scoreboard. I'm just using an embossing tool on it. If you do want to take your score lines out, what you can do is, instead of cutting it straight away, if I go back close, and we go back a screen, you can actually save it to Canvas and put it into Canvas offline that way. Do have to take the old glue off my R6 mat before using it. That is a jolly good question. My gut instinct would be to leave it on if your actual base piece isn't cut up too badly, but if you've got little bits that are sticking up, then strip it off. Okay, so let's fold our side tabs next. Now, if you want to create a card design and actually use this as an envelope at a larger scale, then what I would say is create your envelope first, because it's much easier to work that way around to size everything to that envelope, because of that issue where your sizes represent that outside bounding box rather than that inner shape. Okay, so with your tabs now folded, we're going to apply adhesive. Now, obviously, the more you apply your adhesive close up to your edges, the finer the bits you can actually put in your shaker. Now, I'm going to use some red liner tape, but you could use some double-sided, actually, rather than that one. Let's go a bit thinner. So I have some ultra strong double-sided here. It's a bit thinner, so it's a bit easier to get into the nooks and crannies. So you want to get it as close into this corner as you can. And we're going to take it along that edge. Then I'm going to do another piece that goes along this edge. And that's so that we don't end up getting sparkles that end up drifting behind the tab. And same along this top edge here. Now, normally when I'm adhering translucent paper, what I would say is try to use a vellum adhesive, or do it somewhere where it's going to be covered up. But in this case, these tabs are going to go to the back anyway, so this is going to be the front of your shaker. It's about an old 10p that you need to put on a damp sponge, and then you just literally drag that across your surface. Okay, so we're nearly there with our glue tabs. Okay. So now we're going to actually adhere these so that we actually close our envelope. I'm going to put an extra bit on this panel here too in a minute. The idea being that you want to make sure that it is as sealed as seal can be. Let's get a bit more tape. There's my end. Now this is going to be sandwiched between your aperture element on the front and your card on the back. So if you get any adhesive that goes outside where you want it, it's not going to matter, because you're going to be applying that anyway. Okay. So, did you all have a good afternoon yesterday? It was definitely one of those days for us yesterday. Even Ian had a bad day. So. Okay, so there's our bottom panel stuck down. So at this point, before you go too much further, you're going to want to adhere those sprinkles in. So, just going to very carefully lift that up. Now, can go for a few different sprinkles. So because we're working with a translucent paper rather than an acetate, you're going to want to work with bolder colours. So I'm going to put in a few droplet ones. And we'll drop those down. Then I'm going to give you a very naughty sneak peek. And what I will say is keep an eye out for this on Tuesday. So, hi Donna, hi Linda. Oh, Carol, that sounds positively yeah, painful. So I'm going to pop some of these in too, and we can be a bit more generous with something like this because they're smaller anyway. So now I'm going to just press that down like so. And let's get some tape on this top edge as well. And again, make sure you do your sides so that you're sealing that up. Okay. So let's push those back in there because they get a bit in there. And that's why you see it all around all these edges so that nothing can get out. Come on. There's always one bit of tape, isn't there, that misbehaves. There we go. And we can seal that over and we can press that down too. So hopefully you've got something that kind of looks like that. So now we can get rid of all our little scraps of tape and we can measure our envelope. So this is quite important, this step. So what you're going to want to do is grab a piece of paper. There's always something that goes on the floor. And let's measure that, and I'm going to work in millimetres today just because it's a bit more accurate. So 66mm wide, and then about 51mm tall. So if we go back to our machine, we can then reset and we can start work on our actual front panel. So we're going to go home to reset. Okay. We're going to go into pattern, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go for basic shape. I'm going to grab a rectangle and I'm going to switch my units by using that spanner button to go to millimetres. I'm going to go OK. So we want our rectangle to be 66 millimeters wide. Oh, a bit too far. By 51 tall. Okay, so this is kind of a reference shape, so that we have something that we can check that we're having it actually what class I missed it next week, Natalie? Okay, so next week we're starting the drawing class, and that's going to be one a week in the evenings. Well, in the evenings UK time anyway. And glad to see the pin flow work for you, Deb. I think it was just me, to be honest. So I'm going to add that to my mat. So there's my guide shape for my envelope. I can then go back to add, and we could use a frame shape, for instance. So if we go down to one of these, we could use one of these to border around our envelope if we wanted to, or even some of these, if you actually do the offset that I showed you how to actually get to be able to ungroup these things. But I'm going to go back and let's have a look at a character or two. So I'm thinking it'd be really cool to do something like a teddy bear. But whether there's one on here is another thing entirely. Oh look, there's a teddy bear. He's a very funny looking teddy bear with his legs, but we'll go with that. We can work with that. So, at the moment he's at 10 centimetres tall. So let's go OK. And we want to start with just the base. And we're going to go OK. We're going to add that to the mat. Now obviously if we take this shape over here, that shows that our little centre panel is going to be much too small for our envelope, because our envelope is sticking out the side. So that means that we're also going to need to put our teddy bear onto something else. So I'm going to add another shape, and I'm going to go back to pattern, basic shape, and let's go for a little fine scallop, and I'm going to add that to my mat. Now with that selected, I'm going to edit, object edit, and I'm going to rotate it because I want it taller, and it's exactly the same height as our teddy bear at the moment, and it almost covers our little rectangle. So I'm going to go OK, and I'm just going to go and resize that so that it stretches upwards a little bit. So what I'm looking at is the little decorative details on our rectangle, just making sure those sit outside of that envelope, like so. So far so good. I'm going to move that panel down to the bottom because we'll probably want to cut that out of a different card anyway. So now I'm going to go OK, OK, and now we need to add the gap in the teddy bear's tummy. So we're going to go add, pattern, basic shape. We're going to go down to our circle. Now obviously that 10 centimetres is going to be way too big, so I'm just going to shrink that down a little bit to start with and slide that into there. Now we can go edit, object edit, resize. So I'm going to take it a little bit smaller, go OK, OK. Now actually what I'm going to do before I go too far is I'm just going to go to duplicate and add another one, because we want one to be in our box down here and one to be on our teddy bear. We'll go OK to our multi-select, and then we're going to click off so we select nothing. We're going to tap that little circle and our teddy bear. We're going to go OK to our move arrows, line, and we're going to go center. So that's going to move that little circle to the middle of our teddy bear. And in terms of the height of that circle, that's actually pretty good positioning. So we can leave it at that and go OK. So now we're going to go back to multi-select, tap off so nothing is selected, and we're going to do the same with our rectangle and our circle. We're going to go OK, move, align, and center. Okay. So at this point we're going, okay, there's a bit more space between there and there than there is between there and there. That's okay, we can go OK, OK. I'm just going to click off so that just our circle's highlighted. Go back to move and just nudge it up with that arrow key. So we know it's still centrally aligned, but by doing it with that arrow key we're keeping things nice and accurate. We're not trying to fight with the stylus. And we can go OK. So now I'm going to go back to my teddy bear pieces. So if we go add pattern, back to our patterns, back to our sort of celebrations one, and we're going to go down to our teddy bear. Now we know we didn't resize him, so we can just go OK. And we've got lots of different pieces for him. So we have a nose, so we can add that and go set, and that might come out of our panel that we do our colour card in, so that it has a little coloured nose. Then we can go back to add, and then we've got our little paws. So as you can see, when you select on the part here, it's going to highlight where it is over here. So we can go OK, set. It's always going to pop it back up in that top left corner. So over here, I'm going to go OK, that one is the left paw. Then we're going to go to that one, which is the right paw. So again, OK, and set, and then drag that to the right so that we know it's the right paw, and click off it, add, and we're going to do the little paws on the feet, so that's the left foot, and all these little pieces you can cut from offcuts. So and there we go. So we have all the bits of our teddy bear. Oh, sorry to hear you're having problems with your phone, Louise. So with all those bits on there, we can now get rid of our guide envelope because we know we don't need it anymore. So just go edit, delete, OK. And if you want to save this for future use, you can just go save, and you can choose whether you're going to save that to your machine, to the cloud, or to your USB. So I'll just save that to my machine. It's going to think about it a bit, and then it's going to give it a number. So in terms of how your machine names files, it just does it as a sequential number. If you want to change the actual titles, then what you need to do is save to USB, take that to your PC or your Mac, and then actually rename the file on there. So we'll go OK, and let's get our cutting mat And we can layer up those pieces onto the cutting mat. So first things first, let's switch view, and we can pull off the tape. Just because we don't need it for that bit anymore. And colour wise, let's go teddy bear browns, I think. So the first piece I'm going to go for is this brown here. Now what you are going to want to do is do a little trim, just so that your pieces aren't overlapping on your cutting mat. So 6 inches is a good basis to work on. So I do tend to work with my cutting mat in quarters. Up into that top corner, and there we go. That's our first piece. So then we've got a backing panel that he's going to sit on, and let's go for that colour. Nice bright colour. Not very often I do New Baby or something like that as a card on stream. So again, we can chop that down to the 6 inches. I'll pop that in there. Then finally we have the little paws, and at this point you can decide if you want to go white or if you want to go with a colour. So we could go and give him something totally different for the little paws. And because we've got nothing else in that top right hand corner, I don't have to worry about trimming. Hello, Trouble. Yeah, it's probably the last time that you'll see him pop on stream. So, we're going to load in our mat. Okay. So do one last check round your design. If I go back close cam, come on, there we go. So nothing's overlapping a cut edge. And then we can go for it. So let's go OK. And we're going to go to cut. And just because there's a few little bits and pieces, I'm going to stick with the same blade. And let's go start. So because there is no built-in subtract on the machine, it's actually easier to keep them as separate entities, and then if you want to create a frame in a minute, you can do. You worked very hard yesterday, Tracy, so if he's having a bit of a break there, I wouldn't blame him. Still a little bit high up, isn't it? Let's adjust that here I'm actually going to take a day off streaming tomorrow just because I need to make sure that samples go off tomorrow for both DTs. So they will be heading off. There will also be a blog post going off as well. So keep an eye out for the link for that one. And the members post should be going up over the weekend too. Okay. So now you just want to make sure that all your pieces are cut successfully, and one random little bit just there, but that's fine. You can tidy up. And let's do the brown. And oh look. So far so good. And if I swap back to the close cam, you're going to get this message. And that's because we've used a design with multiple parts to it. So all you have to do, because we know we've already cut everything that we need, is just go finish. And that's going to take you back to your screen with all your pieces on. We can unload our mat and we can fold up our tray. So let's go back overhead, and I'm going to adjust you back so that you can see that a bit better. There you go. So now we want to take all of our pieces off. We're going to have our teddy bear with his hole in his tummy. We have our backing panel, and you can save the circles for another project if you want, or you can use them as a decorative element. We then have the teddy bear's nose, and we have left pull, right pull, left foot, right foot. And we can move our mat out of the way. Come on, listen to that. And let's bring in our Ted. So with our teddy, we're going to use a little bit of glue just to hold him together. So first of all, let's do his little nose. So nose, we're aiming about there. Try and get it level. And I'm going to do left pull. Right pull, and left foot, and right foot. And there we go. So now we want to line him up so that his circle in his belly lines up with the circle on our background. So I'm going to apply a little bit of liquid glue, and that's so that we have plenty of wiggle room. Round his belly. just concentrate on getting him all lined up, and then when you're happy with where he is, you can press him down. Now just be aware that this glue does take a little bit longer to set than the sticks do. And there we go. So now I can flip that over, and with our little shaker panel, we're going to want to line that up onto the back of our panel. So then when we stick that down, we have a little shaker. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of tape around the outside. And this is going to hold our envelope in place for the front bit, and then we can apply adhesive to actually apply that to our card. So I hope you've enjoyed our little session this morning. If you have any questions, then pop them in the comments. Yeah, he's definitely going to have some googly eyes just for Louise. But I may have to do that off stream because I know they're hiding at the moment. So once I've put some of those on, I'll take a photo. And same as yesterday, I'll pop that up on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm also going to start trying to sort out Pinterest as well, because Pinterest has got a little bit behind with all the different tutorials that we've done. Okay, so I'm just going to shake this so I can see where I'm aiming for the main bit of our shaker. Flip him over and let's line up. There we go. So if you wanted to, you could actually foil that centre panel before you do that bit, so that you've got a little initial or something on his tummy. So he needs googly eyes and he needs a little mouth. So what I'm going to do, just take a gel pen, let's do him a little smile. Like so. So with a pair of googly eyes and he'll be done and ready to go. You can use some foam adhesive just to build up the edges where your envelope isn't, if you want to, or you can just simply flatten that down so that his belly pops up. The choice is yours. Yeah, so you could do some ears as well. So if you wanted to basically duplicate his little nose, then you could use that for his ears also. Will look really cute. So I hope you enjoyed that and give you a different idea on how to work with the built-in designs, and also a way to do a shaker card without having glitter everywhere. Yep, so much easier than using foam tape, because I know what I'm like when I'm when I'm live. I know that if I do something like that, it's going to go everywhere. So, as I was saying, no stream tomorrow, just so that I can catch up on DT bits and pieces. There'll be a blog post going up some point over the weekend, maybe into early next week. The members piece will go up at the weekend too, so that's on Buy Me a Coffee if you're a member on there, or on CF Funds if you're a member on there. and that's going to be a really fun one, and then I will be doing a video to go with that, so that's going to be a live stream for members only. There you go. So take care, and I will see you Monday at 11 with something totally different again. Take care. Bye.